Am I starting?
Welcome to Issues with Cartoons. My name is Carl Lucas.
And I am Kyle
And today is our draw and review of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man show on Disney+. It's about 10 episodes. CGI animation, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it kind of separately as it was coming out. And now that the finale came out yesterday, the 2 final episodes dropped on Disney+.
That's right.
And it just happened to coincide with our recording day. So we decided to talk about it together in the same room. And if you ever wondered what Carl and I looked like, this is what we look like.
This is what we look like, revealing ourselves here.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time we're on camera.
Well, like other than our little micro reviews, so if you don't follow us on Instagram, then, well, I don't know, I posted on YouTube also, but if you don't follow us on YouTube or Instagram, this is what we look like. So, sorry. Carl, this is the first show that we've covered as it's coming out since we started posting our podcast.
Really? Because, the bulk of our episodes so far have been covering Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, as well as, early appearances of Marvel characters, like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby issues, and everything in between.
Yeah, so pretty much everything that the audience has heard us record so far has been exclusively Avengers. So this is our first non-Avengers show. It's our first contemporary show. And it's the first time we're going to cover something without strictly talking about comics that inspired it. Although we could get into that, I guess. But while it was coming out, you shared some of your thoughts of the first 2 episodes. But now that it's finished, what did you think?
I think overall, really, really strong. There's a lot of love for Spectacular Spider-Man because of the continuity and the callbacks and stuff. This show does all of that just as well. In fact, there's more Easter eggs.
There are this is something that Spectacular Spider-Man did also. Anytime any character with a name is a character from the books. I mean, you could pretty much fall down the rabbit hole of any side character, any mention of anyone is a reference to someone from comics, which I always enjoy. Yeah,
Nico from Runaways. You got
everyone.
Cho, who's the
Amadeus Cho,
the Incredible Hulk.
You got Asha from Wakanda. You have Jean Foucault, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Bentley Whitman. And not even just that. Like the security guard's name was Johnny Gallo, who was a member of the Slingers.
I did not catch that. But you're a big Slingers fan, you said.
So I very much enjoyed this show because as a Slingers fan, Slingers, I mentioned this on my reviews, Slingers was an outgrowth of the Identity Crisis crossover from the Spider-Man books in the mid-90s. And then those costumes were repurposed as a team book in the late 90s. And with Crisscross on art, and written by Joe Harris. And it was the first series that I read that wasn't Captain America, Hulk, or Avengers when I was growing up. And I bought it at a Myers magazine rack. And I read that book religiously, and I loved it. And I don't know if it holds up well now. I haven't reread it since, but I loved it when it came out. And then it was canceled, and it was the first comic I ever read that was canceled. So
no.
It was my first comics heartbreak. And so I remember that book fondly. And so anytime they show up as skins on a video game, or if they're supporting characters or cameos in an event comic, I always get excited that they're getting used. But yeah, Johnny Gallo was Ricochet.
Okay.
But yeah, so lots of Easter eggs. Not just Easter eggs though, but the character work they do on this show.
There's some deep cuts in this. I mean, there was even an episode that had mentioned the power of a sun and tritium, which are all lines pulled from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and they put that in there. There's a lot of great callbacks. They set up characters. They set up Chameleon. They set up Doc Ock. They set up a lot of the lore for future episodes.
It plays with the lore very well. I agree. What were some of your highlights? What were some of your greatest hits from this?
Oh,
this
well, I know for you, the Slingers episode probably was
I'd
one of your
say
favorite
that's got to
moments.
be one of my favorite episodes.
I don't want to jump straight to the end.
The end,
but I think the end was my favorite part. I love how the origin was a paradox and it was like a time loop,
which threw me off because I kind of thought when I was watching episode 1 and you see that portal open and Doctor Strange and Venom come out and then the spider drops, my head immediately went to Spider-Verse, which posits the spider being a multiverse spider, like it traveled the multiverse. Right. So I assumed that's what they were doing here too, and then we find out it's not. It's actually a time paradox. So yeah, I agree. I thought that was really a creative twist that they took. I enjoyed that quite a bit. What did you think of the way they were playing with kind of the timeline and everything, like with respect to how it ties into the MCU but doesn't really and all that stuff?
Yeah, so originally this show I read was supposed to be like the in-between years of Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
It's directly related.
Kind of like before, around Civil War. And a lot of those tie-ins are still there. They have like the Sokovia Accords are happening and there's like a tie-in with Civil War, right? But this is an alternate timeline. But I think the last episode, with it being a paradox and time travel and things, they kind of firmly established that this is an alternate universe. This is an alternate timeline.
Unquestionably. And not even just there, but they established that when they used the same shot sequence from the introduction of Tony Stark and Peter Parker meeting, and putting Norman there instead. Those were shot recreations. So you already kind of knew there was some differences. Did you like that they tried to keep some of the MCU intact? Like you get mentions of the fight in Germany.
I thought it was interesting. It gives you more of like a fleshed out world, and maybe those events happened, but they didn't happen the same way.
Yeah, like Tony's armor is a little different when he shows up, and there's like some alterations to the history, I guess.
None of that bothered me. What did you think of that?
I really enjoyed the show a lot, to the point where I kind of almost wish it did its own thing with everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what this show's version of Captain America would have been like. Instead of just doing another MCU Captain America. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I almost wonder if it would have been more interesting to have its own continuity from the jump, but
separate from.
But it was fun. Like it was fun. Like hearing them talk about the Avengers or seeing Iron Man show up was cool. Like I enjoyed all that.
Yeah, Doctor Strange shows up.
Strange was great.
Oh yeah, and Charlie Cox is Daredevil. You just gotta talk about that.
Buried the lead for that. That was amazing.
Yeah, wasn't that sweet?
That was a lot of fun for me.
And Finesse.
Finesse.
It was showing up like.
Have you heard of Finesse before this?
Crazy. No, I had to look that up afterwards. I'm not even gonna lie about it.
Yeah, I encountered her when I read Avengers Academy, so I knew who she was, but
I didn't know who she was.
I don't know if, and people can tell me, I don't know if she's ever had a connection to Daredevil before, because obviously she's in cahoots with Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I'm just glad Charlie Cox is getting, after having a few years of being away from the character, he's really getting a chance to go all in.
Yeah, he's like really getting a chance to shine. His spotlight's on him.
And it gives us what I'm afraid we're never going to get in live action, which is Daredevil and Spider-Man in costume teaming up with Charlie Cox performing as Daredevil.
Oh, but yeah, you get that is a good point. You get a little bit of that here, and I like when Daredevil showed up. They gave him his theme song. They gave him his Netflix theme song a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, in the background. I thought that was really tasteful and fun.
I like that. It was like a lighthearted version of Daredevil, like a lot more kind of what you expect from a Spider-Man crossover with Daredevil, where he's kind of like that swaggering, kind of swashbuckling version. It's like there are different flavors of Daredevil, and we always think of the dark flavor, but there's also like the light flavor that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah, it was closer to She-Hulk than Netflix Daredevil. Yeah. That could be the case. I think we almost can't talk about the show without mentioning this version of Green Goblin or Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
It's like the relationship between Peter and Osborn in the show gets really developed. It's really good.
I really like that, and Harry too. I like the relationships they do.
Yeah. It was almost like, it reminded me of like Bendis' Ultimate Spider-Man, where like it had elements of the Spider-Man lore,
Definitely.
but it did things differently.
Definitely.
Like Harry finding out that Peter's Spider-Man without even meeting Peter yet.
Yeah,
was a lot of fun. Like I like that they altered that dynamic. It made it so interesting watching it.
Yeah, I enjoy that too. I really didn't know what to expect if they were going to do like the straight up Norman is the villain of the story kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at first they kind of make you think, well, this is just a totally different version, but no, they're pretty much doing the Norman Osborn as it's like the Sam Raimi Norman Osborn, where he's like the mentor become antagonist storyline.
But he gets to, they give him more play, like he gets to be the mentor a little bit longer.
He does. Yeah,
you know, and that's like really a difference. And they show off the scientist side of Norman a little bit more.
Coleman Domingo nailed that performance, by the way.
He's great.
He's
great as the character. Yeah, like gold star, like really awesome take on it.
Really, really enjoy it. Honestly, the voice acting across the board, I don't really have any complaints.
I don't either.
I think they were really good. I also wanted to talk to you about Lonnie Lincoln, because that was a pleasant surprise for me.
The Tombstone character arc. That was nice. I liked how much of a slow burn that was. Like, I think I even texted you at one point. Yeah. I was just like, I love how slow they're taking this. Like, they could have just jumped into that.
And kudos to them, because as we were watching the finale, as I was watching the finale at home, I was nervous that they were going to kind of speed the plot along for that and kind of cut to the end of that arc with this season, and they didn't.
They teased it even more.
They teased it even more, which is the move. That's what you should do.
Yeah.
It brought it up to a point where like, oh, this is where the turn happens, and then they go the other way with it, but then they give you a little tease like, oh, actually, this turn is still coming. Like, he gets hit with the gas, and you're like, oh, this is where he becomes Tombstone. And kinda, yes, but no, not really.
They just gave him the power set. They gave him the power set, and then he doesn't quite become the character.
And then he teams up with Spider-Man, so you're like, oh, like maybe he's gonna be good in this universe. And then it ends, and he throws that varsity jacket in the trash, and you're like, oh no, like Tombstone is still, he's still here. There's still more to come with Tombstone.
What do you think of this version? Speaking of classic characters showing up, what did you think of Doc Ock? It's a different take on him. It's very comedic.
Very comedic. I don't know if it's what I would have done.
Right.
But since they did it that way, they did it well. Like
That's fair.
I liked the kind of megalomaniacal cartooniness of him. I love that they kept the classic look, like the classic costume. That was fun. But, yeah, I don't know if it was what I would have chosen for him. What was your reaction to it?
Yeah, I thought the voice wasn't what I would have done with it. I thought the backstory was fine. I mean, it's like he's kind of used to work with Norman. He knows who Stark is.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of legacy there where it's like, yeah, this man has the background to make all these devices to power the criminals in the show.
Yes.
But I just wanted him to be. He doesn't come off as threatening as he could until his arms show up.
I think that's it. And they tease the arms a little more at the end, which is fine. But yeah, I think
give you a little bit of that. Yeah.
I think I needed him to be a little more menacing. Not to say that because he's still in play. He's still on the table.
They buried the lead with him a little bit. Like he doesn't come off threatening at first.
Yeah, he's kind of the same role that the Tinkerer had in the Homecoming, right? Where he's like
where he's setting up the weapon. Yeah, that's a great comparison.
So, which is fine. You know, it's a choice you can make. Again, though, it's just not the choice I would have made. You know, there's still time for them to do whatever they want with that character. I'm glad he showed up. I'm glad they included him. It does make me wonder if this was supposed to be a prequel to the Hollanders. Yeah. Was he still going to play a role? Like, were they going to, for lack of a better term, waste that character on just showing up in a prequel animated series instead of giving him a full-blown MCU appearance?
I think that was one of the reasons why this show isn't in continuity, because it does play with all the major characters, like Norman. Yeah. Like, I think maybe Marvel saw what they were doing and thought it better that this was its own show, because they probably, between Sony and Marvel, don't know what they're doing with these characters themselves.
I think that's probably very valid.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, I'd feel, if I were in Marvel shoes, I'd feel a great deal of pressure trying to recast a new Norman Osborn after William Dafoe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that can't be an easy discussion or decision.
Well, and to the point where you have to wonder if it's even worth doing, which they've kind of hinted at, like, there's no one else that we want to play Doc Ock. There's no one else we want to play Green Goblin. Like, we told those stories, and I think that's a shame. I can't fault them for thinking that, but at the same time, it is a missed opportunity. So,
I think another actor could totally take on that role and make it their own.
There's no comic book role that can't be played by multiple people. I don't think. I think, I think every role has it in them to be recast by, like, to have a new take. So. Some new blood.
Are there any characters you want to show up next season? Any rogues that were left?
Rogues left off the table.
Anybody you want to
see?
I
mean, I love Sandman. Give me Sandman.
Sandman's great.
Max Dillon's name was on that board.
Harry's board with all the names on it?
Yeah. Max Dillon's name. So I would love to see Electro, but only if we get Starfish-faced Electro.
Yes.
Don't want it otherwise.
You don't want MTV's Spider-Man Electro? You don't want that? Big CGI Electro?
Let's say, speaking of MTV, let's talk about the animation style.
Good segue.
I think that's probably the thing that a lot of people point to as the weak point of this show.
Yeah, there's always going to be fans complaining.
How was your reaction? What was your reaction to that?
I thought it was fine, and it's a modern show. It's 2025. We have to get over that we can't, like, animate all these shows in 2D. And, like, I see a lot of fans dismissing this show outright because of the animation.
That's unfair.
And this show, I feel like, has proven itself with its writing and its obvious love of the source material. When you watch it, there's so many references that, like, this was made for the fans. Like, I really think those fans that are, like, quick to throw this show aside or be like, oh, this show's too woke, are, like, doing themselves a big disservice,
including the lead voice actor, Carl.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I don't keep up with all that, but I think I heard a story about that. I don't know all that, the context.
You don't need to know any context. Just we've mentioned it here, and that's all we need to say.
I'll sip my Dr. Pepper here in silence.
I think it's unfair to completely dismiss anything because you don't think you like the art style. always give it a shot. Like, because you don't know the context, and you don't know if you'll be able to be. Because what happened to me, I didn't think I would like the animation, but I knew I liked the aesthetic of the rendering.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, I don't like the 3D animation, but maybe I'll just get sucked in. Maybe it'll just become part of the world, and I won't even notice it.
That's
Which
kind
is
of what you got to do with
exactly
the
what
animation.
happened.
Yeah, you got to turn your brain off and
just go for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm always going to be in favor of if you can do it if you can approximate hand drawn, do hand drawn. But like you say, that's just not the reality we live in
And
anymore.
I think I texted you this at one point. Like, I feel like some of the web slinging with Peter in like the action scenes with Spider-Man, you couldn't achieve that in 2D. Like, you couldn't figure that out. I mean, I'm sure you could storyboard it and do it, but it would be extremely time consuming. I'm sure with all the rigging they have of the character models, like, it was a lot easier to put together these scenes.
Well, that's why they do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and not being an animator myself, I can't really comment on that other than to say, like, there was a clear motivation for them doing it this way. They don't make these decisions for reasons other than money. Like, when it comes to, like, how are we going to animate this show, that's a huge component to it. So I think we can probably assume that that's the case, and once you know that that's why, then you just kind of accept it, and as a creator you think, okay, well, if this is how we're going to do it, how can I use it to my advantage? And I think the action scenes all looked really good, honestly.
Yeah, honestly the fight scene with Daredevil and Spider-Man was like inspired. Like, that was like solid. And
the Scorpion fight looked good.
I was about to say, we haven't talked about Scorpion yet. How'd you feel about that take on it? Because it was very different from 616.
It was. I liked it. I thought it was good. I really liked that Carmilla Black showed up.
Yeah.
She. I remember her showing up in Amazing Fantasy.
I want to read that book now.
Yeah. So it's cool that she was there. I liked. I liked the gang war aspect of it.
You needed that for Tombstone.
Yeah.
Like, you needed that in play. Like, that needed to happen.
Well, I'm just glad that they were able to use Scorpion for that. Because I don't know if in the long list of Spider-Man gang villains they could have done, they chose to repurpose an existing villain for this. So, I liked it. I think one other criticism I've seen, I don't know if this is a criticism, but My Adventures with Superman came out a few years ago.
Okay.
With the premise of someone is arming all the villains with tech, in their case, Kryptonian tech.
Like Villain of the Week episodes.
Villain of the Week episodes that are all tech-based, and that's all sourced from the same place. So I think that does share some similarities. I think, too, like, some of the characterizations and stuff might be considered sort of similar. But I don't know if did that bother you at all, having that kind of, like, tropey sort of setup?
I think that's bound to happen with this stuff. I mean, like, you saw that in Smallville, too. I mean, it is a trope, like, have the Villain of the Week episodes. It didn't bother me here. I didn't even think about that as I was watching it.
I didn't either. Someone on a Discord that I'm on mentioned it, and I don't think they're wrong to make the comparison.
I think they're wrong.
I think, well, you can say it. I don't think it's wrong to say that they're similar. I think it might be misguided to consider it a criticism. Because, like you say, it's just a trope, and superhero fiction is littered with tropes.
Yeah, it's the episodic nature of it. I mean, like, every issue of Amazing Spider-Man when it came out would feature a new villain, with the supporting cast showing up again. And that's exactly what this show does. You know, you get all the soap opera elements. Now, instead of Ned Leeds, we have Nico as the best friend. And then
I love that Nico's in this.
I like the relationship. I thought it was really interesting. She's more of like a best friend to him.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I'm left wondering if there is going to be something romantic. There's one scene where Spider-Man's swinging with her and he's like kind of holding her for a second.
Yeah.
And then like I think in the last episode she puts her legs up on him when they're sitting on the couch or whatever.
I don't want that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I feel like the seeds are there if they wanted to.
I like that they can just show a healthy platonic friendship between people of the opposite sex. And, you know, in the book, in the Runaways books, Nico is bi. So she alluded to some attraction to Pearl at the beginning of the show, but there's no reason to say that she can't also have feelings for Peter. I've seen some people say they want her and Harry to get together. I don't want that either.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that too. Yeah, they kind of teased that a little bit too. Yeah, all the soap opera you ever wanted from Spider-Man's in this show. It's like it's there.
Yeah,
troves.
I like that they're starting to show a little bit of her magic connections with her kind of starting a seance with her mom at the end.
Yeah. They kind of teased the Runaways arc a little bit, didn't they?
A little bit. Speaking of teases, can we talk about Richard Parker?
That was mind blowing.
Very surprising.
I did not see that.
It was honestly a relief because
wild.
May sits down and then a guy who from behind looks a lot like Peter sits down.
I thought it was going to be Uncle Ben.
I thought it was going to be Uncle Ben. And
I thought it was going to be Uncle Ben for sure. I was like, wow, this show's really just changing things up,
making some big swings. So I was pleasantly surprised that it was Richard, and you know, lots of questions are presented.
Sure.
When you have Richard Parker showing his face,
is he an android? Is it really him?
I get that reference.
Yeah. Is it really his father? Is it, you know, like, I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions.
So I'm excited by that. Yeah. What are you working on right now, Carl?
I'm drawing. Here, I'll show them. I am drawing Venom because I'm like, I could sit here and detail Venom, and I need to turn my brightness down.
Take care of your eyes, buddy. I'm
having
the same problem.
Yeah.
I'll change my.
I'm drawing a very generic Venom drawing because I didn't feel like I could talk about the show and draw anything else.
I'll turn my ink to black so that it picks up. But I'm drawing my slingers.
Slingers, yep. Got a few of them. Ah, you got a few of them.
I'm gonna do all of them.
Gonna do all four?
All four.
What's the gothic one? Who's the
Dusk?
I was happy all those
guys.
Costumes were in
That
the
book
show.
has a crazy first issue. It's a 0 issue from Wizard magazine. And at the beginning of the book, they're all on a rooftop, and they're going to jump rooftops for the first time because they're new to superheroing. And so one of them jumps and doesn't make the jump, and she dies.
What?
And the rest of the series, she's just a ghost.
That's crazy.
It's a crazy book.
It's a crazy.
And when I was 9, I had no idea what to do with that book. It was wild.
Probably the weirdest spider title I was into as a kid was I got an issue of Spider-Girl, which is May Parker.
Oh yeah,
and
I read Spider-Girl. Yeah.
And she was depowered, and she was using Normie Osborn, who is Norman Osborn's grandson.
Yeah, Terry's son.
She's depowered and using his glider to fight a Spider-Man imposter, which everybody thinks could be the real deal, but May knows that. Right. That's obviously not her father. So, you know, like, that was one of my earliest Spider-Man books. Yeah, it was. That's a great series, too. Tom DeFalco.
Tom DeFalco, who, he wrote the...
love that series.
He wrote the Ultimate Guide to Spider-Man that I had.
Yeah, the DK book. I got mine over there somewhere.
Mine's at my house, yeah.
We've had a big discussion about those DK books, and
we should do a show on those.
We almost should. We should do an episode of those because, like, I don't know. That was one of the first guides I read to Marvel. Anything really?
Oh yeah, a lot of my Spider-Man knowledge comes from the animated series in the '90s and that book.
Same, yeah. A lot of the X-Men. I remember the X-Men one was like slightly more detailed than the Spider-Man one. Like it went a little bit more in depth with some of it.
I remember the Spider-Man one had like some original art in it. Like it was like when they were talking about his web shooters or his costumes and stuff, they had like art designed for that book in it.
That's kind of cool.
I think Batman had something like that, but I don't think any of the other ones did.
Batman totally had like breakdowns of the utility belt, I remember, and like the Batmobile, and I always like, hey, that is almost a trope with Batman, like to do that, but it's cool. It's cool when they dive in like that. Well, how about the symbiote showing up in the first episode straight out of the gate?
I thought it was wild that Doctor Strange showed up right out of the gate, because I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, let's watch the new Spider-Man show. Wonder what this will be like. And like right out of the gate, it's Venom and Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So you kind of knew right away that this was going to be different.
And I love that too. And Nico's there when the spider bites Peter, and it's just like what, the girl from Runaways is here. It's just crazy, and I love that about the show. It kept me guessing.
And I was
guessing the whole time.
What did you think too? I wanted to ask you this. So in this show, Uncle Ben is dead.
Sure.
But he's dead before Peter is bitten by the spider.
Mm-hmm.
Which sort of fundamentally changes the whole origin. What are your feelings on that?
Well, if this is like taking things from the MCU and altering them slightly, I mean, they already kind of changed the MCU Spider-Man to where Aunt May says the great power comes great responsibility. And they do allude to that line with Norman Osborn where great power comes great respect.
Yeah.
You know, and it comes into play with kind of corrupting Peter a little bit.
Right. So it didn't bother you though, strictly?
No. Like, I feel like if the ending wasn't so strong and the show didn't deliver on other aspects, I'd be angry. I would be like, oh, they really messed up Uncle Ben's origin. They messed up this and they messed up that. But they did so much stuff right that, like, I didn't even think about it. The ending to this show is so satisfying.
Yeah.
Like, as a fan, I just want more. And, you know, I'm glad season 2 and season 3 are confirmed. I'm like, I'm ready for it.
It has 3 seasons confirmed. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm on board.
So, kind of early to say where it ranks for you in terms of Spider-Man adaptations, but maybe as a first season, like, we'll just take your temperature, I guess. Where does this fall for you? Are you fully on the hype train? Like, this is the best Spider-Man show you've ever watched?
This is the most I've been on the hype train since Spectacular.
Okay.
And that's a good gauge of where I'm at. Okay. Well, Kyle, where does it sit for you on your Spider sense?
You are more versed in Spider-Man than I am.
Debatable.
But you know, I think I'm definitely here for it. I definitely want more. Yeah, I'll say it's a top 3. I'll say it's a top 3 Spider-Man show for me.
Top 3? What is your top 3?
Oh God.
Let's go there.
Let's go there.
Let's do it.
So I am 35, which means that the 90s show has to be in the conversation.
Yeah, of course.
And Spectacular Spider-Man. Now, having said that, do I enjoy things about the 80s Spider-Man cartoon? Sure. Do I enjoy things about the 60s one? Sure. Do I enjoy things about the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon that came up after Spectacular? Can't tell you, never seen it. So
yeah.
I think part of the problem with asking me that question is I'm not as fully, I'm not knowledgeable about it. I don't have as deep a bench of knowledge. So
I'm pretty much in the same spot, though. I mean, like, the 90s
more-
Spider-Man the Animated Series is what I watched, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, like...
your Spider-Man fandom's mostly in the comics, it seems, maybe.
Would that be your benchmark? Like, though, for Spider-Man shows, is, like, Spider-Man the Animated Series? Like, that's, like, the definitive one, right? I mean, if we're talking Spider-Man shows... I mean, you could say Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, too. Brought us, Starfire.
Firestar.
Firestar, sorry, mixing my DC
Starfire
and my Marvels up. I'm sorry, I'm
okay.
confusing my action figures.
I bet that's never happened.
It's amalgamation.
Starfire would be a very funny amalgamation.
Firestar.
Or Firestar. Actually, the 1981 animated series was the first memory
I never watched that.
It's the first memory I have of Spider-Man.
I've never watched that.
I can't tell you if it's good. It was good when I was 6. That's all I can tell you. The Spider-Man animated series, I think in where it lives in my memory, is probably the definitive Spider-Man. Having rewatched a couple of those episodes recently.
Wow. Let
don't
the truth
know.
come out, Kyle.
What?
Let the truth be known.
I don't know if it holds up as well as, say, Spectacular Spider-Man would.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am very forgiving of that show because it came out in the 90s and I watched it religiously as a kid. But,
yeah.
I'm not trying to get anyone mad at me.
I rewatched, I'm going to just say this, I rewatched the 90s Spider-Man as an adult.
Sure.
And I hated Mary Jane Water clone.
Oh,
Get out of here. And it's after the wedding. So, like, the Mary Jane Peter got married to is the water clone.
So, even in the 90s, they were trying to undo all that.
Yeah. I never understood the fascination. I think because I am a 90s kid, like, I never understood the fascination with undoing Mary Jane and Peter, because to me, they were together. Like, the whole time I read the comics. You know what I mean? Like,
we should talk about this. This is what's going to get us the views. This is what people are going to...
One more day since past?
What? I heard one more day. I didn't hear anything else.
The Clone Saga?
Clone Saga.
That'll get us plays. Complaining about the Clone Saga.
God. What's it like being a Spider-Man fan, Carl?
I just mentioned the storyline that is, like, the reason I quit reading as a kid was Since Past. Like, Since Past came out, and I dropped that book real quick, and I started reading some other stuff. Like,
Since Past came out, and I refused to ever read Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was
because I heard about it, and I was like, I'm never reading that.
I was out, yeah, and I don't know. I'm a bit. I'll be honest, I'm a bit jaded of Spider-Man now. I'm like, especially the new titles. Like, people tell me to read it still. Like, people are like, "Oh, this run's really good," and this run's really good. But I'm like,
can't fool Carl.
No, and then I look at all this stuff happening with Paul or whatever, and I'm just like, I'm fine. I'm fine not reading Spider-Man. I had my time,
Hey, if your name is Paul and you're a Spider-Man fan, are you okay?
Are you okay? Do you need to talk to someone?
Do you need to talk? Maybe don't talk to us, but
do you need help?
Do you need to talk to anyone? Because I feel like people named Paul who like Spider-Man are probably having a hard time right now. I'll tell you what, I've never drawn the Slingers. I am very much enjoying myself.
I've drawn Venom before.
I'm about to draw Hornet though, and that might change my mind. I just finished drawing Dusk, and it was like, okay, just like a silhouette. That's all you're doing.
You said Hornet?
Hornet.
I need to draw Swarm. That's what I really need to be drawing.
Yeah? You have to draw every bee.
He's, I think, Danny Fingeroth, right? Danny Fingeroth came out.
Yeah. Is that the Nazi beast Swarm?
I don't know his origin exactly. I just remember he's made out of bees. He was like one of my favorite characters.
Or like Spiders Man from Earth X. It's just a man made out of spiders.
I always like in the 90s show where Peter turned into a spider.
Oh yeah.
I always thought that was cool.
Man spider.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a cool twist on it.
That messed me up as a kid. That scared the hell out of me.
Rewatching it as an adult, I hate how many episodes Morbius is in. It's just like
they couldn't be a vampire.
Yeah.
Couldn't be a vampire.
Like, can you have more Venom? Can we have more Doc Ock? No, you can only have 2 episodes of Venom. Here's 10 with Morbius though.
Right. Where he has those weird hand suckers.
Yeah.
That's
It's like
so funny.
10 episodes of. I mean, they do put Blade in there. They do.
Punisher too.
Yeah, Punisher.
Yeah.
Love the Punisher.
You couldn't have Morbius with fangs biting anybody, but you could have the Punisher with a truck full of guns just blowing people up in a kids show.
That's right. It's fun. And the cops had laser guns.
Cops had laser guns. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But okay, so overall, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. What are your thoughts? What's the final statement?
I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10.
Now you're trying to think of a letter grade for it, or a...
I'm just trying to show the audience Venom. It's just reflecting weird. You can kind of see him. See him.
Crap, this happened again where you got done before me.
No, my pencil just died. I'm not even done.
This is why you're this is why I work traditional.
Yeah, basically. I am this whole time. This whole time I'm like, why did I use my Crow Quill pen? They'll know I'm not a real cartoonist. Oh my god.
Meanwhile, the fraud over here is still going.
Look at this fraud putting in more hours than me.
Oh no.
Okay, I give it 9 symbiotes out of 10.
Wow. Wow. So that's all the way up to what? Toxic? Would that be that?
That's good.
That the 10th one?
Yeah, I'll give it
Anti-Venom?
7 Madam Webs out of 10.
Ooh, if you're saying that, I think maybe it should be a little more. I feel like the value of the Madam Web as a unit.
I can't put a ranking on it yet.
Too early.
The one thing I hope is that season 2 is as well written as season 1.
Oh, I didn't throw your question back at you. So
What question?
Yeah. So, and I guess I never really answered your question. So I said Sandman, but like Mysterio would be cool to show up. I'd love to see Chameleon actually pretend to be somebody. Who else would work well in this? I mean, Spider Slayers would work well in this universe.
Yeah. The robots.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, we need to see Doc Ock with arms. I said Electro.
Doc Ock's coming.
Yeah, for sure. So who are you wanting? Who are you looking for?
I want Kraven the Hunter.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you already gave me Dimitri and Chameleon. They set all that up. They set up Rhino. It's part of the Russian gang.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm not a huge fan of Jackal. I could see them doing Jackal maybe. Man, would it be too wild to say Hobgoblin versus Green Goblin?
That might be. Ned Leeds' name was on the board, though.
That would be cool.
It's not outside of the realm of possibility, I guess.
Yeah, we might see Norman as Green Goblin next season. It could happen.
I mean, we have the glider already.
Yeah, I mean, all those
and
pieces are there.
Peter's DNA, so they could theoretically use that to create the Goblin serum.
I could see something crazy, too, where, Norman becomes Venom. Or something, because Norman has the symbiote.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe Harry becomes Venom, because I feel like I've read this a lot on forums. A lot of Spider-Man fans feel like Harry and Eddie are interchangeable. You could replace the character of Eddie Brock with Harry.
Ultimate Eddie. Yeah.
Oh, where they were brothers.
Where they were friends.
Yeah, they're kind of friends growing up. I hated in Spectacular Spider-Man when Venom called Peter bro. That was so cringy.
Yeah,
he was
that was very
bro.
That was very 2000s.
I was like, thanks,
Eddie Brock.
Thanks, Spectacular Spider-Man. You're not perfect either, Spectacular Spider-Man. I see you.
Man.
I see through the lies of the Jedi.
There we go. That's how we're going to get our views. Yeah, Spectacular Spider-Man isn't as good as everyone says.
Carl getting fired up and pointing at the camera and quoting Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah,
that's how we get
that's going to be the clip. That's going to be the clip that people pass around.
Do the clip.
We got it. I can't draw.
I hope AI does something with this.
All right, Carl. Maybe that will be the clip. Keep going. Keep going. We'll find the clip. We'll find the clip.
Find the clip. Just keep saying controversial stuff, please. Please keep going. Keep going. Keep being outrageous. Keep being entertaining.
Yeah. Me, I'm just like, hey, everything's great. You're just like, Spectacular Spider-Man sucked.
I love they bookended like the Scorpion arc
Yes.
beautifully. Like Peter had fear of the Scorpion, like finally overcomes that and defeats and then you just have this great bookend episode that ties in with the first episode.
It's very well written.
Yeah,
the whole show is very well written.
Hats off to the writers.
Yeah, I think that's my big takeaway from the show is that it's very well written, very well conceived. And I do want more. I am excited for more. I'm glad we're going to get more. Because, that's not always a guarantee. All right.
What about the theme song?
I was in my kitchen doing dishes this morning, and I put the theme song on my Alexa app. And it slaps. It's very, very good.
It is good.
It's
it is
very
good. The classic jingle at the beginning. The 60s song at the beginning. Yeah,
I was thinking about this. So, like, I've heard people say things like with the new Superman movie coming out. I've heard a couple of people, not many people, but a couple of people bemoan the fact that they're doing a riff on the John Williams music and not just doing their own theme. Like, like Michael Giacchino did his own theme for The Batman. Or Hans Zimmer redid the theme for Man of Steel.
Sure.
Like they created their own piece of music to mark the times. And here's my thing. You're a James Bond fan.
Sure.
Would you accept ever a James Bond movie that did not include that theme?
Oh, no.
No.
Like it needs
you
it.
Wouldn't.
You
would not. It would not be a Mission Impossible movie without the Mission Impossible theme.
Yeah.
I think whenever they make the new Harry Potter TV show, you're gonna need that John Williams score. You're gonna need, or even like, even the Lord of the Rings TV show, the Rings of Power show.
Yeah.
Used elements of the Howard Shore theme. My point is, I think when you have franchises, especially franchises that change actors and continuity all the time, I think it's nice if you include elements of the music that made it iconic. And I think the Spider-Man theme song, and I think Michael Giacchino did the theme for Homecoming.
Oh, okay.
I think he used elements of the 60s theme song in his score, which is the right thing to do.
Like honor it?
Yeah, or just like acknowledge that it's part of this thing that you are adding to. I don't know. Maybe I'm too opinionated on that.
I think over time, like we associate theme songs with these characters. I mean, look at the 90s X-Men theme. Like, there's nothing else for the X-Men. They never made another notable theme that people remember more.
Crazy, now that you say that, it's crazy that the movies never did anything with that score. To the point where, like, when Xavier shows up in the Doctor Strange movie and you hear that music, it's instantly recognizable what it is.
Same with Charlie Cox and the Daredevil song. It was like, wow, we're right back, and
But like, why would you ever make an X-Men movie without that theme song? Because it's forever the X-Men theme song. I could sit in silence and mull over for hours probably and not remember exactly the X-Men movie theme.
Right.
But I can tell you right now what the cartoon theme was. I don't know. Again, like, why would you ever deviate from the music that made it classic? So I'm glad, all that to say, I'm glad that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man used the
60s.
the theme that we all know.
Some of the 60s.
Yeah.
It was popped up.
And
in
like
the song.
it didn't leave it there. Like, it had more to add to it, which is fine. But I think it's great that they were able to incorporate both.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it's crazy. The X-Men theme song showed up in The Gifted of all places.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, it shows up as a cell phone ringtone. So that's the first time we see it in live action. X-Men fans got it rough. We got rough out here.
Is it harder to be an X-Men fan or a Spider-Man fan?
Spider-Man fan.
Yeah. You said that so quick. You are very.
I think the Spider-Man fans are way more annoying. Because I think there's just more of them, so they're just. It's like Star Wars, It's like Star Wars is like the fan base is louder. And
that's not exactly my question, though.
Okay, what's your question?
First of all, it's another controversial thing you said.
Okay, sure.
So, now Spider-Man fans are going to come after us.
Good.
But good. We can take them. But is it harder to be a Spider-Man fan, or is it harder to be an X-Men fan? Like, who has it rough?
Oh, like in terms of quality?
Like in terms of like...
I feel like X-Men fans had to wait a really long time for X-Men 97 to come around and be like the thing that brought the fan base together. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. How would you answer that? Yeah, because I'm not even sure myself.
I think...
no idea.
I think Spider-Man fans have it way rougher.
Why is that? Why do you think?
Because with X-Men, they might mess up some of the X-Men, but you can't ever mess up all of the X-Men. Spider-Man's one character that you have to mess up.
It's true.
And you know, like, you can mess with Scott Summers' marriage, but at least over in the corner you have Nightcrawler being awesome, or you have Storm being awesome. But with Peter, if you mess up his marriage with Mary Jane, then you're pretty much, you have nowhere else to turn to soothe your wound. And I think since Clone Saga, they've been kind of struggling to appease Spider fans.
Yeah, they can't find something that lands. I know Life Story was pretty well liked. I think Chip Zdarsky and Mark Bagley.
Well, and like first Ultimate Spider-Man and now the new Ultimate Spider-Man are both.
Yeah, Hickman's take on adult Peter with like a family and stuff, which like is an entirely new concept. Like I said, Spider-Girl did it before.
Yeah.
He's just kind of taking stuff that's already established and putting his fingerprints on it.
Oh, which is like the ultimate. That's like the whole thing about.
That's the point, right? Yeah, that's what you want. Yeah, I don't know. I just wish Sony would stop making movies like Morbius and Madam Web and like diluting the brand.
Did you see Craven?
I didn't.
Me neither.
I did not. I do enjoy. I do enjoy Tom Hardy as Venom. Even I know the opinions of those films and what people say about them and stuff, but I do think Tom Hardy's good as that character.
So one of the things they're talking about doing in the fourth Tom Holland movie.
Okay.
One of the rumors I've heard.
What's the rumor?
So Sony doesn't want to do a Kingpin Daredevil crossover, right? So what they are wanting to do is more multiverse stuff, and what I've heard is they want to do Venom Spider-Man with Tom Hardy and Tom Holland.
See, like I wouldn't even mind that, like Battle of the Toms.
Battle of the Toms.
I like have the Toms battle. I'm not opposed to that. It's comes down with all superhero anything for me.
Execution.
Yeah, comes down to the writing. Like, are they going to spend time writing a script, or are they just going to do a bunch of dumb tie-in crap with Secret Wars and just cobble it together really quick? do some multiverse shenanigans. Be like, those symbiotes from another multiverse, I'm not interested in that. If they pace it well and write a new story, I think that was like fans' biggest problem with Spider-Man 3 is that it felt rushed.
Well,
when we did get to
the Venom part was the part that was mandated, right? Like that was the part that was not in Raimi's original pitch.
Yeah, that was Avi Arad. I mean, like, watch the interviews. It's like Sam Raimi clearly was a fan of the Steve Ditko, Stan Lee characters.
He doesn't care about Venom.
He doesn't care about Venom at all, and it's obvious. Like, if you watch interviews around that movie, if you watch the DVD special features, he's just like, yeah, fans really appreciate the Venom character, and so we put him in this film just to appease them. It's like he's very checked out.
That was a pitch perfect Sam Raimi impression, by the way.
Yeah, like he just didn't. He just didn't care. He didn't care about the character, so of course he's not going to land the betrayal.
It sure showed on screen.
I mean, sadly, that is the most developed. That's Venom origin is more developed than the comic book origin. I mean, the comic book origin is just like he's the Sin Eater case, and he kind of hates Peter for reasons, and you know what I mean. Like it's like the origin for Eddie Brock never really worked. Now the character does look cool,
right?
I'm saying all this as I'm drawing Venom.
Yeah. No wonder you think he looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the appeal of that character has always been the visual stuff. I think Scorpion is way more interesting, like, in terms of, like, an origin story.
I do like Scorpion.
Of, like, Jameson creating a Spider-Man clone because, he hates Spider-Man that much. He creates a villain to take him out.
And, to the 90s show's credit, that's pretty much what they do in that show.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they don't mess around with canon all that much in that show. At least as far as the Scorpion is concerned.
Right. It's pretty faithful.
Yeah, I'm sure they take other liberties, but like with Red Skull and Electro.
Being brothers.
Being father and son.
Oh, is that what it is? I can't remember.
Chameleon is Electro's brother.
Oh, man.
Chameleon is German.
I don't know. I got high hopes for Fantastic Four, and I have high hopes for James Gunn's Superman. I'm waiting for both of those to come out.
It's going to be a good year.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we kind of start the year off with a good Spider-Man show, to boot.
I wasn't... One thing I do want to talk about is I wasn't expecting anything from this show.
No.
Like, I wasn't even expecting the writing to be good.
No.
I was going into it like, I'll check it out, new Spider-Man, I'll watch an episode, and I was hooked. I mean, like, they got me, for sure.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Alright, I want to use a different digital pen than I'm used to doing, so we'll see how this goes.
Uh-oh. I'm just going to redraw this whole drawing on a new layer.
But
I have the basis here.
So, this is funny. I think my son... Oh, no, that's what happened. So I let my son borrow my iPad to color drawings that I draw for him.
Nice.
And every now and then I'll catch him, because he's 3.5. I'll catch him drawing, I'll catch him opening up these settings of the pen.
Oh no.
He's just clicking around. He doesn't know what he's doing.
No.
He doesn't know what he's doing. It's nothing malicious, but I'm just like, please don't. And I'm always afraid I'm going to open my pen tool and find it completely changed. That's okay. I'm just
fear of Cliff messing with your settings.
Oh no, this is Jessup.
Yeah, it's got to be Jessup. Never mind.
But at least he's drawing. So
yeah, he's trying to learn from you. He's
getting pretty good at coloring between the lines.
Kyle, give him the tools, man. Give him the tools to learn.
I know. I'll get him his own iPad.
He can mess up those settings. There you go.
And he will.
That's what I mean. Yeah, this be all part of the learning curve or spider web of life.
Carl, how often do you draw traditionally? Or how often do you draw digitally?
How often do I draw digitally? Pretty often. And a lot of people like come up to me and they're like, your stuff's all digital, right? I'm like, no.